Alright, this week we'll be picking up where we left off after the last episode. When we stopped, Flame had just been injured by Blister. Pain exploded in his scales and he howled, falling back. Big talons caught around his wings and he didn't even struggle, too surprised at the agonizing injury to fight back. Suddenly, he was falling and then someone was carrying him. He could hear screaming and smell smoke. When they stopped, Flame couldn't smell smoke anymore, only salt. He didn't hear anything other than the labored breathing of his friends? "Oh my gosh, Flame! Are you okay?" Fate Speaker demanded. He felt her talons touch one side of his face, and he howled again, jerking back. Nobody said anything, and Flame forced himself to open the eye on the good side of his face. The other 4 Dragonets were standing in front of him, looking at him with worry. Ochre must have carried him, he realized, feeling almost touched. Even Viper looked almost concerned. He swallowed, talon going up. He wanted to touch it, but knew that would only make it worse. "We need to move inland," Viper said after a moment. "We can find fresh water and wash it out." "It's poison," Ochre said. "That won't fix it." "I know," Viper snapped, "but I don't know what else to do." "We'll figure it out," Flame said, finally. His voice was a lot higher than he wanted it to be. "And we need to get off the beach so we can hide." He knew he didn't like Blister. She was definitely off the list now. They moved south for a few days, picking their way through the edge of the Mud Kingdom, sort of in the direction of the claws of the Clouds Mountains and the rainforest, far out of the way of the war. The injury on Flame's face had missed his eye. He supposed that, if nothing else, was lucky. It had sliced open his cheek from snout to ear, though, and it hurt more every day. The edges were raw and getting worse. "There has to be a cure," Fate Speaker said as they were walking one day. "We need to find a Sandwing and ask." "I wish Dune had told us," Viper said. She'd never nicked anyone with her tail, even accidentally, and the Guardians had never said anything about Sandwing venom as a result. Flame was only barely listening, focusing on walking and trying not to let the pain get to him. Suddenly, he heard a crashing noise and the sound of someone yelping. He spun, about to warn them to hide, when a burly mudwing entered the clearing they were in. His eyes widened when he saw them, and he froze. They stared at each other, the ragged group of Dragonets and the big, amber mudwing. He looked to be about their age. He said. Suddenly, another voice sounded at the edge of the clearing. This one was smooth and musical. "Don't worry, Clay," it said. "I've been following them for a while." Flame whirled in time to see a dragon melting out of the shadows. Literally. The dragon was changing colors. She must be a rainwing, he realized. They were on the edge of the rainforest, he supposed. The mudwing, Clay, relaxed a little. "Oh," he said. "Who are they?" "We're right here," Viper snapped. The rainwing leveled them an imperious, bored look. "Isn't it obvious?" she asked. "No," the mudwing said. The rainwing rolled her eyes. "They're the Dragonets of Destiny?" Clay's eyes widened comically. "Really?" he asked. Viper hissed, tail raised threateningly. "We outnumber you, so don't try anything," she growled. "Hang on," the mudwing said, placatingly. "It looks like you need help," he added. "Clay," the rainwing hissed, sounding exasperated. "We have things to do." "Well, they're the prophecy dragons," he said, stubbornly. "Shouldn't they know?" "Know what?" Fate Speaker demanded. "Look," Clay said. "My camp's not far from here. Our healer has the cure for sandwing venom. I can get some for you." Flame perked up. "Yes," he said. Viper shifted. "Are you sure?" she asked, quietly. "Yes," he said again, to her. "Clay," the rainwing said. "We don't have time for this." "It won't take long," he promised. "You take care of them for a bit. I'll be right back." He spun and crashed back through the swamp. The rainwing huffed, but didn't actually seem angry with him. She turned to them, eyeing their group. "Fine," she sighed. "Come with me." They spent the evening with the pair of them in the rainforest. After treating his injury with a cactus juice, Clay insisted that they listen while he explained something to them. He looked at the rainwing, who was named Glory, before he started. "The prophecy is fake," he blurted. "Clay!" she squawked, smacking him. "Nice way to start!" Everyone but Ochre was in an uproar about that. "What do you mean it's fake?" Viper hissed angrily. "Ugh!" Glory groaned. I'll explain. The odd pair explained everything, then. The Nightwings had been invading the rainforest slowly and had been picking off lone Mudwings, too. Rainwings were disappearing, and the Nightwings were using the war to keep attention off them. Clay and Glory were part of a group working to stop the Nightwings. They claimed that Nightwings didn't actually have powers, and they'd made up the prophecy. They didn't share how they'd found this out, though, and Flame was prepared to dismiss the idea until Fatespeaker spoke up nervously. It's true, she said, quietly. Nightwings don't have powers. Everyone turned to look at her wordlessly. Morrowseer told me, she admitted, back in the cave. He told me to stop lying and to pay attention until the right time. She winced. I didn't want to say anything, because I still think we have to end the war, she said. I can't believe this, Viper hissed. All this time? Fatespeaker shrugged helplessly. I take it fulfilling the prophecy hasn't gone well, Glory asked dryly, gesturing towards Flame's face. He hissed, Mind your own business. Clay and Glory exchanged glances. Look, Clay said, I have to get back to my Sibs. They don't like it when I'm gone too late, especially since... He stopped. The Nightwings killed one of my sisters, he said. That's why we're going to stop them, Glory said softly, putting a talon on his shoulder. He nodded. You have enough cactus there to heal the injury, he said. You can find more in the Scorpion Den, or anywhere in the desert if you need to. Flame nodded. Thanks, he said, roughly. Good luck, Clay offered, before disappearing back into the swamp. Glory eyed them. Don't trust any Nightwings, she warned. Fatespeaker shifted uncomfortably at that. If I were you, I'd hide somewhere for a while, she added. Figure out what you want to do. The world doesn't change because of things written down on crumbling scrolls. She turned and left, too, with no further warning. The Dragonets were alone. Well, Flame muttered. They went back to the Claws of the Clouds Mountains, after it all. This time they kept to the southern mountains, though. There was plenty of room, and few dragons anywhere nearby. The Sand Kingdom bordered them on one side, and the swamps and rainforests on the other. Flame's face healed like Clay said it would, but the scar was thick and tight, pulling at his scales. He knew it must look hideous, but at least he'd kept the eye, he supposed. Although they knew the prophecy was fake, Fatespeaker was right. Nobody else did, and the war had gone on for so long. What else were they supposed to do? He just didn't really have any idea how to do it. Burn and Blister were horrible, and although they hadn't met Blaze, she didn't sound much better. And even if they tried to pick her, who was to say Burn wouldn't just go in and smush her like a bug? Blaze was weak, and she'd make a bad queen. So all of the options were poor. Just because the prophecy isn't real doesn't mean we can't still help, Fatespeaker was arguing one night. I don't want to, Squid said, shaking his head. Fatespeaker poked him irately. You're such a wet leaf, she said. Grow up. Why should we? Viper asked. We're fine here. For how long? Flame asked. Eventually someone will find us. Everyone knows about the Dragonets now. Viper huffed, but didn't argue. I think we need to find out what the Sandwings want, Fatespeaker said. Viper and Flame should go to the Scorpion Den. Oh, great idea, Viper said, dryly, 'cause all the rest of your plans have gone wonderfully. Fatespeaker narrowed her eyes, looking like she wanted to argue. No, this one isn't bad, Flame put in. He sighed, exhaling out a stream of smoke. Maybe it'll give us an idea, and the Scorpion Den isn't really under anyone's control. Yes, let's walk into the den of literal criminals, Viper huffed. Fine, whatever. I'm ditching you if we get in trouble, though. So the two of them went to the Scorpion Den the next morning, taking in the sights of the sprawling, haphazard city. Viper blended in easily enough, and although Flame stuck out, he thought his scar actually helped him there. Probably would be the only time, though. They spent a few hours wandering, listening to conversations and picking at bits of news. Nobody had heard from Scarlet in a while, and the Sea-Wings had withdrawn from the war for a bit. No news of any kind pertaining to Nightwings. Although Flame didn't know if news of that sort would even spread, considering both the Rainwings and the Nightwings were pretty private tribes. They were preparing to leave when a pair of smaller Sandwings cornered them in an alley. The taller one was lanky, with freckles and a scar on his snout. The smaller was golden, and lacked a tail barb, although Flame thought he could see some kind of metal contraption strapped to her tail. Both had amber earrings in one ear. Viper had her tail up, ready to attack when the golden dragon held up her talons. Hang on, she said. My name's Sunny. I'm friends with Clay, and he told us about you. Flame and Viper froze, listening carefully. Don't worry, she said. You're not being captured. But we might be able to help you with your prophecy predicament. And that'll wrap up this episode. I'm actually very pleased with how this story turned out overall. I wasn't expecting it to go as well as it did. I just spent 3 hours writing it though, so yeah, it took a minute. Anyways, as always, remember to check out the description for links and program information. If you liked the video, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe for more videos just like it. Thanks so much for watching, and please have a wonderful week.
Rise up from the ashes, wings on my back, stay lit like a matchstick. We ain't coming back, I swear. Just let go and see what happens. Gotta let go to see the magic happen. They got us a quick change, so we like them in phase.